Hello. Bringing awareness to the children experiencing homelessness in our area. That's the goal of a month-long campaign kicking off soon. We'll talk to the organizers. And September is Suicide Prevention Month. We'll show you how artwork is being used for positive messaging. Plus, 8 Voices will soon resonate as part of a new vocal group making their Pittsburgh debut. We'll hear how they're reaching a high note. So pull up a chair and meet us at the corner. Intersection starts right now. Hello, I'm Lisa Smith, the Director of Community Impact at KDKA Plus and the host of Intersections. What does it mean when a child is homeless, and what is the impact of that experience on a child? Those are conversations the Homeless Children's Education Fund wants to have as we approach October, which is Homeless Children's Awareness Month. AJ Jefferson joins us. She is the CEO of the Homeless Children's Education Fund, along with Ty Allen, the chairman of their You Can Awareness campaign. Welcome, ladies, to Intersections.
Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah, so, you know, AJ, when we talk about homelessness involving children, that number is 3,000, a staggering number.
It is.
But what does that look like?
Yeah, typically what it looks like, and let me just let you in on a little secret, it just rolled out. There are 3,496 students now who have been identified as homeless K through 12. So those numbers just rolled out. Typically what homelessness looks like in a youth's life and a young person's life is that they're living doubled and tripled up in someone else's home. So that person, that the home family probably doesn't have enough space for that child to do homework, to sleep, to do a lot of things that we take for granted. So typically, the largest group of students experiencing homelessness are living doubled and tripled up. Another larger population are living in shelters, right? So those are transitional shelters, emergency shelters. They're living in shelters, and depending on that shelter, depends on what's happening with those students or with those children. We are partners of several shelters across this region, and every shelter is a little bit different in how they support families. And then the next group are children who are not living in someone else's home or living in a shelter. They're actually living in inadequate circumstances and conditions. So they're living in their cars, they're living in extended stay hotels and living around people that they shouldn't be living around, excuse me. And unfortunately, there's a small population of students that are actually living on the streets. Yeah.
So, you know, you have that fact, right? Yes. And then how does that impact them in terms of trying to gain their education on a daily basis, or even, you know, things like their physical health, their mental health, behavioral health, all those elements?
Yeah, so when a child is forced to be in fight or flight mode, that doesn't bode well for them academically. They're concerned about their parents, their caregivers, and themselves having somewhere to sleep that night that's stable, that's safe, that's consistent, that allows them to get the 8 hours of sleep they need. In many cases, if a child, say, I just read a case yesterday where there's a child and a family living in a shed behind a church. So in that shed, there is not plumbing. So they have to go to the restroom in a bucket. They take a bucket into that shed to wash up. So is that child going to school, especially the teenagers? No, they don't want to go to school because they're not getting consistent showers, consistent baths. They're having hygiene issues. So that deters them from wanting to be in school. And so what we do is try to bridge that for students. We try to provide them wraparound services immediately. I have 2 social workers on my team, and the first point of contact we make with children and family is through that social worker to try to stabilize their existence so they can prioritize their education.
So Ty, you are working on, you know, heading the campaign, the You Can campaign around awareness. How do you do that? What are you doing to try to make sure that people know and are aware of this situation?
Well, all through the month of October, we have a bunch of activities planned through the organization of HCEF, and it's basically to bring awareness to our cause. So, we have a lot of activities throughout October, starting on the 1st throughout the end of the month, and we're going to be having a silent protest.
Yeah. Silent demonstration.
Silent
stand-up demonstration that we're hosting out in front of City County building.
Yes.
The mayor will be there, Congresswoman Lee will be there, as well as the Allegheny County executive will be there to support our students and just to rally the community together to do something about this.
Yeah, and I know there's also, in addition to that, you have some other items. There's a panel discussion.
Yes, there's a panel discussion that we're going to be having in the middle of October, and we're going to have like about 4 or 5 individuals that are basically, SMEs in that area to where they can give awareness on what's happening with the cause. In addition to, we have the Young Professionals Mixer that's going to be happening, and we're going to have a wrap up at the end of the month.
Yeah, there's an art project also.
It is. First
Yeah.
Lady Michelle is going to be, the First Lady of Pittsburgh. She's going to be having an art gallery at the City Hall.
Yeah. Tell me why it's important for peers to be involved in this process of awareness.
Well, their peers would have lived experience, and it's important for you to have that true buy-in. My story is pretty similar. So, like the buy-in is like, hey, you've been there and you want to be able to pay it forward with regards to that awareness and to give back in that area.
Yeah.
And we need to start training students to be more aware of what's happening in their world and their community and create empathy for students. And so that's what this art exhibit really helps these students do who may not be living in those type of situations, create empathy for their fellow, for their peer, for their fellow student, so that they can support them in the ways that they need support.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we only have a little bit more time left, but I do want to note that you have started a new strategic plan for 3 years. What are some of the highlights of that plan, and how does this awareness campaign kind of play into that campaign?
Absolutely. One of the reasons why that we evolved this strategic plan is through the awareness campaign and the rallying of support. So our strategic plan rolled out just a couple of weeks ago, and there are 5 strategic goals, one of which is bringing together all of our programs and having a continuum program model where students don't have to opt out if they don't want to of all of the services. They will continue to go from K all the way to 24 years of age. Another one of our really highlights of our strategic plan is partnering education with workforce development, exposing our students to career opportunities and letting them know just because you're going through a temporary situation, it doesn't determine your future. And how do we do that? By putting them and exposing them to different career opportunities, such as in the mayor's office, at Dollar Bank, so on and so forth. They then get the motivation to go back to school, be consistent with school and their education, and strive to be what they experienced.
Yeah. Well, there's so much here, and obviously a lot of information for people to hopefully be more aware of. And so we thank you both for coming and sharing all of this information.
Absolutely.
All right. And coming up, how one family is using art to turn their loss into inspiration. Intersections. We'll be right back. The power of positivity and art. Together, they are helping to make a difference around Pittsburgh and beyond. September is Suicide Prevention Month, and recently, UPMC Western Psychiatric Hospital partnered with the Positive Painting Project to fill the hallways with positive artwork and encourage mental health. Joining us to talk about the project are Dr. Tina Goldstein. She is the co-director of Pitt's STAR Center, and STAR stands for Services for Teens at Risk. And then also Todd Whysong, who launched the Positive Painting Project with his wife Elisa to honor the memory of their daughter Katie, who died by suicide in 2021. Welcome both of you to Intersections.
Thank you for having us.
So Todd, first of all, obviously we're sorry about the loss of your daughter Katie. Tell us a little bit about Katie and how she inspired this project.
Well, when she was 13 years old, she started having trouble with depressive disorders and symptoms. We had her treated actually with the Western Psych, their outpatient program, which is a STAR program. And and she was very successful through it. It was really helpful for her. And when she was finished with that, she really leaned into advocacy for taking care of her friends, and I think she liked learning the tools that she had learned while she was at the STAR Center. And art was always her chosen method of expression. Some kids talk, some kids write in journals, and with her it was always drawing, painting, things of that nature. And so a couple years later, near the end of COVID, which we know didn't do anyone's mental health any favors with the isolation, one night while we were out, we lost her. And we struggled, obviously, with that grief, and also to try to find some meaning out of this and to carry on her name, and remember that this was a project that she wanted to start. She had 2 years prior, she had reached out to her art teacher, Nancy Goldberg, and wanted to start this project of putting positive messages all around the school, through the restrooms, up and down the hallways, and have students and teachers alike participate in the creation of that. So after we lost her, we started coming up with ways to begin this project, and everyone was reaching out saying, I want to be involved, but I'm not very artistic. And it was, again, these art teachers that we spoke with. One was Nancy, the other one was Mackenzie Seymour, who just through these creative teachers came up with the ideas of, instead of painting walls, actually painting backgrounds, because everyone can paint a background, and putting it on canvases instead of on the walls, and where you can bring this project to everybody. And Mackenzie came up with all of the logos and did all the designs for that. And Nancy helped us put this team together to get this project going. And that summer, we were able to put a bunch of paintings in the middle school. And then we reached out to the high school because we had some left over, and we put them in there. We thought mission accomplished. And then shortly afterwards, Shaler High School reached out, and then we had North Hills High School, and then after that, Hampton, and here we are 3 years later in 47 schools and over 40 districts in the Western Pennsylvania area, and the project just keeps growing and growing.
Right.
And we also work with many community groups and centers, and we were very excited when UPMC, Western Psych, reached out and wanted to do an installation. It was Angela Schaffino reached out to us and said, I want to bring this to our patients here, which just meant the world to us, with it being, with Katie having gone through the STAR program, and it just really feels like this project has gone, full circle to complete itself by being able to work with those students who really, really need the message the most.
Yeah. And so, Dr. Goldstein, when they were able to bring it to the hospital, what was the impact?
The impact has been enormous. I mean, first and foremost, obviously, is honoring Katie's memory, and also bringing so much attention to mental health and the critical messaging in this beautiful art.
Yeah.
We know that there's so much stigma around mental health, and particularly around suicide and suicidal thoughts. And so by putting this messaging out in the community for people to see it, for patients, staff, visitors to walk by, there's, the beauty of the art and the inspirational messaging that brings hope to people and lets them know that they're not alone.
Yeah, those messages, you matter, hold on to hope, you are not alone. Why are those messages so important for people to hear and see? I feel that it's the loneliness that is one of the hardest parts of dealing with mental health struggles. People are afraid of judgment and to open up. The example we always give is if you went to your doctor or your dentist earlier that day, you'd have no problem telling someone later that that's where you were. But if you were with your psychiatrist or you were with your therapist earlier that day, you would probably still say, I was at my doctor or my dentist, for fear of that judgment. And that's what needs to come down. That's what's keeping people from, very much in need, from feeling safe to say, I am not okay, and reaching out and getting the help that they need. Yeah. you know, Dr. Goldstein, obviously this is work you've been doing for a long time. Do you think that also just this process of doing this art is impactful to people, just like in about 20 seconds?
Absolutely. We know that all different forms of creative expression, painting, singing, playing music, are really beneficial for people's mental health. It's a way that's in a safe space to express oneself, and particularly sometimes when it's hard to find the words or hard to be able to share them. So it's an incredible outlet for people to prioritize their mental health.
Well, thank you both for coming and sharing this really phenomenal project. And we also want to remind you that if you or someone you know needs mental health help, you can call or text this number on the screen, the National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. It is 988. Thank you again both for being with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And coming up, 8 voices are creating a new sound to resonate in Pittsburgh. Intersections. We'll be right back. We know Pittsburgh is home to some amazing talent, and soon you'll be able to hear the music of some world-class singers. They are performing a range of music from Bach to Gershwin. They're called Resonate, an octet produced by Resonance Works. Joining me now are Maria Sensi Sellner. She is the Artistic and General Director of Resonance Works, along with one of the performers, a tenor, Robert Frankenberry. Welcome to Intersections.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, so Maria, I know this is like a passion project for you, right?
Sure. I mean, I think you go into the arts because you love it. You don't do it because it's the most lucrative.
Yeah.
Always, but everything we do is we try to make it meaningful to both the artists and the audience that will experience it.
So how did you decide who you wanted to be part of the octet?
Sure. So Resonance Works as a company. This is the kickoff for our 12th season, and everybody that's involved in the octet has been involved in the company in some way, shape, or form over those years, either featured as a lead role in an opera or soloists in a concert. And so they're people we have built relationships with over time. And as you said, Pittsburgh had some world-class talent here, professional singers who make their home here. And so when we thought about who that we featured before would mesh well together in this kind of ensemble, that was kind of in the deciding factor.
And so why 8 voices, maybe versus 4 or 5?
Sure. So a lot of vocal music, vocal ensemble music, or choral music is in 4 parts. You think of like soprano, alto, tenor, bass, and a lot of that music is then divided further. So 8 voices gives an opportunity for more harmonic possibilities. And a lot of the music we're doing, it will be one voice on a part. So you'll hear eight voices singing all different parts.
Yeah. So Robert, when you heard about this idea, what was your reaction? Obviously, you said yes.
Well, yes, yes. And, I'm sometimes part of those decision-making conversations. And as soon as Maria said, "Well, we really would like to do this," it was like, "Oh, of course." It gives us an opportunity to just, as singers, we don't necessarily get a lot of time to spend with each other. We're so often just busy in all our separate lives. So part of the joy of doing it is not just the music, it's also that we're able to spend those rehearsal hours and the hours before and after the concerts together.
Yeah, and I know we saw some video of the rehearsals. How has that been going in terms of like everybody kind of finding their way and finding the where do I go?
I mean, really well. There's something that is sort of energizing about suddenly realizing, oh, I'm the only person on that note, and I better be on it. Sometimes we have a little too much fun. Well, Maria keeps us in line. So.
Yeah. Well, fun is a good thing. So, in terms of selecting the songs, Maria, how did you have such a range? So, how did you decide on where you wanted to focus?
Well, are starting what I hope will be a core ensemble for the company and for beyond. So we wanted to flex the muscles of the vocal muscles of the group and really show versatility. So as you mentioned, there's a motet by Johann Sebastian Bach. We've done some big works by Bach with the company, including B minor Mass a couple years ago, and then all the way to some very contemporary music by some of the most exciting composers that are living today, Rena Esmail, Caroline Shaw, David Lang, and then some crossover into musical theater, Stephen Sondheim, Leonard Bernstein, that kind of music, and some in between as well. A lot of stuff from the American 20th century. Yeah. So it was we wanted to show a mix. There's sort of a theme throughout of hope and optimism and community, and because that really means a lot to us in our programming.
Yeah, and so we want to put up the screen that kind of shows the shows. The first show is actually today, which is Sunday the 22nd. Where's that going to be?
That's going to be at Calvary Episcopal Church in Shadyside, and it's the first time we're performing there, so we're very excited.
Yeah, and then your second one is on the 29th, also Sunday.
Yes, also Sunday at Fox Chapel Presbyterian Church in Fox Chapel.
Yeah, and then people can get the tickets on your website.
Yes, you can go to the website, resonancworks.org, and you can get tickets there, or you can buy them at the door.
All right, well, it sounds wonderful. Thank you both for being here, and have a wonderful 2 shows.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, and I'll have my last word when we come back. Positivity. Never underestimate the value of positivity in attitudes, thoughts, approaches, and how we treat each other. We all need it. It's part of our human connection. Things like a smile, an acknowledgement, words of encouragement, kindness, positive conversations. They are more than just simple gestures. For some, it's the healing and motivation they need for their day. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on Intersections.